Hello and welcome back to the Euro Trips channel. We are here for a slightly different video to normal. If you didn't see our previous videos, I spent 2.5 months in America traveling all around the country, and of course a part of that journey, as you would have seen, was going to NFL stadiums. And my job for you today is to give you my take on every stadium I went to and ranking them. And we're doing different categories, so we will be doing a tier list for these videos, and we are doing categories such as atmosphere, the stadium just as a whole, and also how the city was to visit as a tourist. So today's video is going to be all about atmosphere. Now, this is something that, it's been mocked a lot by, you see these videos on YouTube comparing the UK to American chants and American sports and stuff like that. So today I'm going to give you my take on each stadium and what it was like to experience each one. So in terms of the list we have, as you can see on your screen here, we've got, so I'm going to move these pop-up ads because they're always a nightmare on these websites, but I've got elite, very good, average, naff, and not available, which means I didn't go to the stadium. So I'll get those done now. So first of all, Arizona Cardinals did not go to that stadium, so that's not available for that one. Same with the Bills and the Ravens, so they're also being put on the not available. I do plan next season to go to some of these stadiums. I think Arizona's one I'd love to go to, but Bills one, I made some friends in Detroit watching a Bills game, so I'm certainly going to try and go there next year and maybe link in Toronto, whether it's this year, next year, etc. And the Ravens, the reason why I want to go here is mainly because it's an hour and a half from Philadelphia, which I also didn't go to. So that's there as well. So hour and a half train from Philadelphia to Baltimore. I really want to go to Philadelphia, so I want to mix in that. Ideally, I want to go when the Dolphins play in Philadelphia. And yeah, I want to do that and then take an hour and a half trip. Ideally, if there's a game on a Thursday night in one or the other, I can then go to the other one on either Thursday or Sunday. So those are the four. There were more as well. So I did actually see the outside of the Brown Stadium. It looked okay, but I didn't actually get to experience the stadium. So that's also going and not available, as is the Washington Commanders stadium, which I'm putting here as well. So that is, I believe, all 6. To double check. So, 49ers as well. 49ers I didn't go to. And yeah, put that in there. So I believe that is all of the stadiums we haven't gone to. So now we're going to go through each one and I'm going to rank it elite, very good, average, naff, and not available when it comes to the atmosphere. Now, first off we have here is the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, I went to this one, the Mercedes-Benz, around early November time. I saw them host the Chargers. I'm going to put it in, for atmosphere-wise, I'm going to put it in naff. I've got to admit. So I had a friend of mine, Jack, come down for 3 stadiums, and for me this was, actually no, there was one that was worse, but I put this in average maybe. You know what, I'm going to put in average. It wasn't too bad, maybe not as bad as I think. It made me realise that the one that we went to out of the 3 with my friend was a lot worse. I can put that in now. Houston Texans in naff. Now, I'm fully aware this was going on the exact same time as the Houston Astros were playing in the World Series against Philadelphia Phillies, and the Texans were playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So the stadium was only half full. The tailgate was very good. I enjoyed the tailgate a lot. Did a 40-yard dash, did other things like cornhole, did a few sort of wide receiver and quarterback drills at the tailgate. But yeah, for me, unfortunately, it was a naff atmosphere. Met the Kilter Texan, Graham Henderson, who's been on the podcast before. Met him after the game, but yeah, the stadium wasn't the best for atmosphere. And going back to the Falcons, it was a great stadium to look at, but in terms of the atmosphere, which ideally is what we're here for today on this video, I'm going to put it in average because it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. So average for me. Next up is the Panthers, and again, this is another one that goes to average. For me, yeah, it didn't help the fact that it was, it was really raining. It was the one of 2 games I really went to where it was absolutely pouring it down. And yeah, for me, it was just very, very mid-tier. It wasn't rubbish. It wasn't amazing. And yeah, a lot of people were watching some of the games from the inside. It's the one game I went to where I did actually almost consider going home because of how bad the weather was. But, you know, it was still okay. And I'm fully aware that if it was a sunny day, if the Panthers were playing well, maybe it'd be a better atmosphere. But for me, this goes an average. Next up is the Chicago Bears. Now, in terms of the atmosphere, I'm going to put it in very good. It was a good atmosphere. The stadium itself wasn't probably the best, but the actual atmosphere was pretty good. It was very good. I'd say that's probably in a very good margin. And yeah, it was a terrible game, which didn't help at all. The atmosphere may have been elite if the game was good, but I'd say it was very good. Probably teetering more towards average than elite, but I'd say in between those, very good. All the Bengals, another one, very good. I think I was there for the game between the Bengals and the Dolphins, which Tua did get injured in, so that did sort of kill the atmosphere. It probably would have been an elite if Tua hadn't got injured, but it was still very good. All the pre-game stuff. Tailgate was also amazing. That was probably the best I went to for actual tailgating. But for me, yeah, the Bengals was very good, and it was sadly ruined by an injury, which would have made it definitely elite. Speaking of elite, Dallas Cowboys. For me, this is the first one we're having in the elite column. Amazing stadium. I mean, the atmosphere was just incredible. I mean, they won by so many points. It was a very heavy scoring game and a very one-sided fourth quarter. But it was still a very good atmosphere. And of course, I went there the next day to do a stadium tour. Amazing stadium tour. You got to go on the field, throw some touchdown passes. But the actual game itself, it was just incredible. We were quite high up, but we got these, I'll show you now, we got these white flags, which we all sort of got given by our seats, and we got to wave those around whenever the Cowboys did something good. And it was all around a very good atmosphere. While we're there also, I'm going to also give you what I got at the Texans Stadium. Before I forget about that one, we got given these as well. You can see that there. It's got the date of the game, the Texans helmet. Yeah, that was good. But yeah, going back to the Cowboys, it was a good stadium to go to, and I think is one of the ones I'd recommend. We will be going on to in another video how the stadium looks aesthetically, but I think this one it's one of the rare ones that had both. That had both aesthetically and also atmosphere. It was brilliant stadium, and for me, yeah, it has to go in elite. Right, next up is the Denver Broncos. This is going in average. For me, yeah, it was a great stadium to look at, and it was one of the best actual stadiums to go to for pre-game atmosphere. I think, you know, they had all these guys in backpacks and parachutes coming into the stadium. That was very, very cool. But when the game started, the atmosphere did die a little bit. Again, it was sadly the worst game I went to out of all the 22 games I went to. This was by far the worst game itself. But it was still good. I wouldn't say it was quite in a very good region, but I think in terms of average, I think it sits there nicely. Detroit Lions. Ooh, this was I'm gonna put it in very good. I was there for the Thanksgiving game between them and the Bills. I've always wanted to go to the Lions game or Cowboys game on Thanksgiving because of the tradition they have with those games. But Lions was very good atmosphere. It was also the best game I went to in terms of individual game. The Bills did win by a late field goal, but it was a fantastic game to go to, and the atmosphere was just incredible as well. It was definitely the hardest one to get around in terms of in the stadium. Normally you have a free walkway to get to your seat, even just minutes before kickoff. But I was going to my seat half an hour before the game started, and it was like a real caged-in environment. That was a bit uncomfortable, but in terms of the actual stadium atmosphere itself, it was fantastic. I mean, they had a halftime show, which was actually quite a bad halftime show, but it was still an amazing thing to experience. Everyone was in good mood. The tailgate was really good. Had Thanksgiving food in a marquee tent. It was a brilliant experience. And I think this is definitely one of the more underrated stadiums, I think, going out there. Packers has to be elite. It was oh so cold when I went there. Went into Lambeau Field to watch Packers play Titans on a Thursday night game. But the actual game itself was, again, it was a good game, but the atmosphere was incredible. You had snow coming down. It felt really historic and really wintry. It was a fantastic stadium. I mean, you go in. I mean, we went to the tailgate before. Me and Ash did some work for Channel 5 as well with Corey. But you get there and it's just, you're instantly hit with just history all around. I mean, I went to the stadium tour the day before, got a little glimpse of what I was going to expect. And then you get into the stadium itself and, you walk past the statue of Vince Lombardi outside the stadium. You go in and, we went to get our drinks first, etc., etc. And then you go and get into your bit where you go and get your seat. And you're just blown away, really, by how good the stadium is. It's just something I think everyone who's an NFL fan, whether you're a Packers fan, whether you're not a Packers fan, you have to come here. You really do, because it is simply a bucket list stadium for me. It's just being there and just being around such a historic stadium was fantastic, but the actual atmosphere was incredible. I mean, the Packers losing did not help the atmosphere, but the fans were still loud. The fans were still there. The fans were still cheering for their team. I didn't see many fans leave early either. It was just an all-round, a fantastic experience, and the atmosphere is just something I'll never really, ever forget. Next up is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this one was one of the more underwhelming atmospheres I experienced, and that's why this is going, sadly, in the naff column. For a stadium that looked so good, atmosphere was pretty bad. I mean, the Colts were playing really bad. They did lose to the Titans in this game, but, it's just something I really was wanting a lot more from. Shout out to Michael and Bill and the boys who I did go to the game with. Met Michael in a sports bar. He took me under his wing. They took us to the game and we went for food and drinks afterwards. So around the game, look at the tailgate, look at the post-match stuff. Really good experience. But actually being in the stadium, I don't think it was the best atmosphere. I had really good seats as well. It was, by the corner. It was a stadium where I got to see one of my favourite players in the NFL, Derrick Henry, scored a touchdown very near me. But it was just not loud enough. It was not loud at all, and I really have to say it has to go in naff. It was just not what I thought it was going to be, essentially. And I saw a poll where it put the Colts fans, or the Colts stadium, Lucas Oil Stadium, as the fourth fourth loudest atmosphere when it comes to the NFL stadiums. But from what I experienced, that's definitely not the case. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to put this, is it very good? Is it average? I'm going to put it in very good. I'm going to put it in very good. And this is actually not down to the Jags fans. So I watched them play the New York Giants, and the Giants fans made this game atmosphere a whole lot better. So you walk in, and straight away, what do you hear? Gangster's Paradise as you walk into your auto seat. It feels very cool. And then it was a very warm day, about 24 degrees Celsius, mid to late October. And yeah, the atmosphere was very good. But it was made by the Giants fans. There was a lot more Giants fans than Jags fans. And they made it a great day. And it was one of the best games I went to as well. The Giants won. There was a stop at the 1 yard line, which denied the Jags a win. But of course, both teams have made the playoffs. So that didn't matter too much as a result. But it could have made a huge difference in terms of if they lost the division by one win or something like that. That could have made all the difference. But for me, Jag Stadium was very good. The TIAA Bank Field, quite hard to get out of, but in terms of an atmosphere at the stadium, it was very good. Shout out to the Giants fans. Speaking of, we might as well go to them now. I'm going to put the Giants and Jets together because I did go to the MetLife to watch the Jets play over the Giants. But I'm going to put, obviously, as they both share the stadium, I'm going to put them both in at the same time. Average. I'm going to say average. I mean, I'm a person that hates the rain, so for me, I was wearing a poncho, thankfully, and the game was fairly good. But I think the atmosphere, because it's mainly a Giant stadium over a Jet stadium, it would have been, I think, much better if it was Giants. But the Jets fans, got to give them credit. They put on a good show. They were loud, but for me, it was, I say average, very mid-tier again. Wasn't bad, wasn't amazing. Atmosphere was just all right, and they were obviously cheering for Mike White when they beat the Bears that game. But yeah, this one for me, both of them go on average. Next up, the Chiefs. What can I say about the atmosphere? This is, for me, is elite, and if there was a category above elite, I would put this in, because this was by far the best atmosphere I experienced. So it has to go in elite for me. It was truly spectacular, and it was one of the stadiums, I think, again, like Lambeau Field, you just have to go to. It was truly just an amazing experience. It really was. They beat the Raiders. It was one of the best games I went to as well. Saw Travis Kelce score 4 touchdowns as they came back from, I think it was 17 points down. And, you know, from the tomahawk chop to everything else you get before the game. And then when the game's going on, it was just absolutely sensational. And it's, for me, this is a stadium that I really recommend to anyone. If there's one stadium I was going to recommend, it would be this one. And I did get this. I got a first game certificate at this game. So when you go in, you get the, you know, you go there, get the, you go to this one little booth, and they give you this as a first time goer to the stadium. So if you are a Chiefs fan, even if you're not a Chiefs fan like myself, I went completely as a neutral. But yeah, it tells you the date, you can put your name on it, the teams that are playing. And also, if you are someone, they do have to do a lot of stuff for people with cancer as well, which is very good. So they give you a little cardboard cutout. And if you've got anyone you know that are suffering with cancer, you can put their name on this other one. And then you can, they put those on the big screen throughout the game. And also, I went down to the stadium before the game started. I went for a lot of games. If there's players I love, like Mahomes, like Derrick Henry, I would often go down to the bottom of the field. And I would get, you know, I would watch them warm up close by. So I got to see, first of all, the Monday Night Football teams. So Steve Young, I saw close by, Alex Smith. But then I went down to the bottom of the field and saw Devontae Adams for a little bit, but mainly Mahomes and Kelce warming up really close to me. Before I forget, actually, I did forget to show you a few more things. So first of all, going back to the Lions Stadium, when you go to a stadium, you get this. I don't know whether you can see it very well from this angle, but it was obviously another towel they give you. It gives you the date of the game. Obviously mentions Thanksgiving, the teams that are playing. Very good. And obviously in terms of the Packers, going back to that, we did get these at the tailgate. So we got, I think it's some sort of cozy for your bottle of water or something if it gets too cold. And also one of these, which is some sort of, again, some sort of cozy you can get on your wherever you're drinking at the time. So yeah, going back to that, that was brilliant. Next up, both together this time, the Chargers and the Rams. Now, for me, this one really let me down. Actually, I thought it was going to be elite. After watching the Super Bowl last year and watching games on TV, you know, you expect it to be an elite atmosphere. By far the hardest stadium to come out of. And I was coming out at half time because of my flight back to the UK and the fact the game got moved to a later time. So even at half time, the Uber was literally one of the worst things I've ever experienced at a stadium. By far the worst exit of a stadium. Absolutely disappointing. But in terms of the game itself, I put it in, you know, I can put it in very, I wish there was if there was a thing between very good and average, I would do that. I think the atmosphere was loud, but the fans at times weren't. Obviously, watch the Chargers play the Dolphins, week 14, I think it was. And yeah, only watched the first half, but a great stadium. But yeah, I'd say, yeah, just about very good, but it was teetering on maybe being average. Raiders, another one I've not gone to, so that goes in not available. Miami. Now, of course, this is one I went to as a fan. Obviously, I'm a Dolphins fan, if any of you don't know. So it was my first time going to watch Miami play at home, something I was very excited for. But I've got to say, sorry to all my Dolphins fans friends that may be watching this video, I'm putting it in average. A lot of empty seats, a lot of... you know, there's more. The Vikings fans were more loud than the Dolphins fans. Even when Miami scored, it wasn't loud at all. And I've got to say, you know, I will go again because it's my team and I want to see them at home or play as much as possible. And we did a lot of good things as a fan group from the UK, so that was all good. But I got to say, the stadium atmosphere wasn't that great. But I did get some stuff from Miami. So first of all, I did get a hat, which I did purchase from outside the stadium. I would show you the t-shirt I got, but I can't quite find that at the moment. But yeah, this one here, Dolphins outside the stadium, $20 if you get it outside the stadium. It's about $50 if you get it inside. So yeah, it's a stadium that I would say to go to, especially if you're a Miami fan and if you want the heat, because it was very hot. So you get you get sunshine and all that, but it wasn't atmosphere that blew me away. Vikings. This one was really, really good. I'm gonna put it in very good. It just wasn't quite elite. I think to be elite, you have to be something out of this world. I think the Viking stadium was very good for atmosphere. The fans were loud. I saw them play the Bears very early October, so it was early on in the season. And yeah, it was very good. I mean, you go in and you know what, actually, something I just remembered is going in elite, because they have the skull chant before the game and during the game, and that is something that is very famous, of course, also with the Icelandic football team at the Euros in 2016. But yeah, this is something that the Vikings fan have down to a T. There was a massive horn which blows out. We got to actually walk into our seats. We got to actually walk right past the horn, so we stayed there, watched the horn be used, and it was brilliant. And obviously then during the game, at certain points during the game, they would start doing the skull chant, and it is something that I think that you have to just go and witness, because it is just something that I think was absolutely superb. And yeah, it is a stadium that had a really good atmosphere. So that's going in elite. The Patriots, now, this is different. I actually didn't go to the stadium on this trip, but I've been there in 2019. I watched the Patriots take on the Kansas City Chiefs, the year that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. It's going an average. I've got to say, it was the coldest I've ever been at any game. It was really cold. But, it wasn't bad either. I think that, I love the Ozzy Osbourne Crazy Train when the players walk out, and it was loud, and it was, back then the Patriots had Tom Brady, so it was, they were still a good team back then. Sorry to any Patriots fans who watched this season, but yeah, it's just a very good atmosphere, but not anything special. It's just okay, I'd say. Sean, if you're listening, I met a good friend of mine, Sean. I met actually at a Patriots game for the first time. I went to the tailgate. The tailgate was one of the best I've ever been to. Still stand by that. Better than most of the ones I went to in this trip I went to this year. And it's a very easy stadium to get to if you get the right bus. Very easy to get to, but for me, the atmosphere itself has to go an average. New Orleans Saints. It's going in very good. This one just misses out on being elite. In terms of the atmosphere itself, as good as the stadium was, the atmosphere was good, but it wasn't amazing. For me, it's just a stadium that, it was when the players walk out, it's one of the best things I experienced. When the players walk out, the lights will go down. It's very, very cool, and it was by far that. I go back to the thing I mentioned before about my friend coming with me for 3 games. It was this game, the Texans game, and the Falcons game. This was by far the best atmosphere of the 3, by a million miles. This was very good. Obviously, you can see the Texans there, and of course the Falcons there. But the Saints, for me, unbelievable atmosphere, but just wasn't quite in the elite level. Steelers. Now going to the Steelers next. Again, very good. Not quite elite, a further away from elite than the Saints is, and I can show you what I picked up, not actually at the stadium, but outside the stadium. I did give myself a terrible towel. Now, these ones you can buy, but I didn't realise this until afterwards, but I did pick it up actually on the floor somewhere outside the stadium. So, this one here, it's you can see the logo, you can see it doesn't have the game on there, I don't think, but it has, has the just a terrible towel and the logos. Very cool, and the stadium itself was very cool, but atmosphere was good. It was very, very cold. That's the coldest I've ever been since that trip I went to this year. A very cold experience, but went with a family friend, Harry. The game was actually very good. The game was, I think it was 39-33 or something. It was a very high scoring game. I think the most combined points until I went to that Cowboys game. And yeah, very good atmosphere. Very good atmosphere. The fans were loud. The fans, even though they were doing really badly at the time, the fans, were very good. And yeah, it was a good atmosphere. Seahawks. Now this one will be the final one, spoiler alert, to go in elite. So this one here was the first I went to on the trip. So I went there in week 3, saw them take on the Atlanta Falcons, and it was really warm, first of all, which is not what everyone thinks of Seattle being. Everyone thinks of the rain, which I never really got when I was there. Loved the place. I love Seattle so much, but as a stadium, as an atmosphere, I think it's second to the Chiefs. It really is. It's a fantastic stadium. And the atmosphere was just incredible. The fans are so loud. Everyone knows about the 12 men and all that. Yeah, it was fantastic. It really was a really cool atmosphere. And I think I've developed a soft spot for the Seahawks now because of that reason. I really think that if I'd gone to the States, that trip, not had a team, I'd gone to a Seahawks game as my first game just by chance, and I'd not had a team and I'd not followed the league, I would have 1,000% be a Seahawks fan, because they really welcome you when you go in. You met some fans who were next to me, and it was just they were so welcoming, they were so nice, and yeah, the atmosphere itself at the game, it was a good game as well. The atmosphere was incredible, and I would definitely come back here again. I think there's only a few stages I'd go back to, but one of them definitely is the Seahawks Stadium. Now, this one, it's going in naff. Buccaneers. Saw them take on the Ravens early November, late October, on a Thursday night game. The Buccaneers were terrible that game, and the game itself was actually alright, but I gotta say the fans were probably the quietest of the three of these ones in naff. I say the Buccaneers for me were the quietest. I think it was all Ravens fans. No Buccaneers fans made any noise, and the Ravens fans weren't even that loud in this game. For me, yeah, this was one of the most disappointing fan bases, because they're a team that won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, made the playoffs last year. They weren't doing well at the time, but even so, it was not a fan base I thought were anywhere near what I thought they'd be going into that game. And then finally, Tennessee Titans, Nissan Stadium. So I went to watch Tennessee Titans take on the Denver Broncos in November. Another one of those ones that was very cold. In terms of atmosphere, I put an average. It was good, wasn't amazing, wasn't bad. It was a good experience because I mentioned before I love Derrick Henry, and I got to watch him warm up very near me. Brilliant experience. The tailgate was one of the best for atmosphere, but also just what you could do there. But I think in terms of the actual game itself, I put it down an average. Very cool stadium, but atmosphere-wise was not anything special, but not also terrible. But that is the end of the video. So you can see here, the list in full is here, as you can see here. So I've got the Cowboys, AT&T Stadium, Lambeau Field, Arrowhead, US Bank Stadium, and Lumen Field all in Elite. And then very good, you can see Soldier Field, Picor Stadium, Ford Field, TIAA Bank Stadium, the SoFi Stadium, the Superdome, and the Acrocor Stadium in very good. Average, you've got the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you've got the Bank of America Stadium, you've got the Empower Field at Mile High, MetLife, Hard Rock Stadium, you've got Gillette Stadium and Nissan Stadium, all in average. NAF, you've got the Texan Stadium, the names completely passed me by, the Lucas Oil Stadium for the Colts, and the Raymond James Stadium for the Buccaneers, all three of them in the NAF section. And then 7 stadiums here that I haven't yet gone to, which I hope to go to at some point for all of them. So Cardinal, State Bank, State Farm Arena, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, the Bill Stadium, which again has completely passed me by, Lincoln Field for Eagles. I don't plan to go to Commanders or Browns, because I did go to these stadiums and have a look at them from the outside. But I don't think either of them I've got any plan. Maybe Washington, because I like Washington as a place, but I didn't have a good time in Cleveland, so I don't think I'll come back there. Levi Stadium at San Francisco. I want to go to a stadium tour there. I'm going there this year potentially to rearrange 2020 holiday. And then the same thing with Vegas and the Raiders. I will try and go to a stadium tour or even just look from the outside. But that is the end of the video. So I hope you guys enjoy my ranking for the best and worst atmospheres at a stadium as I rank them. And we will do another video soon, which will be all about how the stadium looks, and also one in the future about how the place is to visit. So I've been Andy, this has been Eurotrips. Please like, share and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.